We're back after a long hiatus of running into the woods, running away from the world, and not wanting to be a part of this corrupt war machine propaganda. We're back. It's been a whole week since we've been on air, and glad to be back, Micah.
Sometimes you just gotta take a week off in order to see what's really going on in the news. You know, if we were reporting during all of this Israel-Gaza, everything we would have said would have been outdated. So now that we can take a little bit of a fresher look, actually look at what's really going on, who's controlling us, who's pushing us into war, what's going on with the Congress and not having a Speaker of the House, and why is Biden trying to send another $100 billion to every single country besides America and building a wall? And so I think we're about a week and some change in. We've got a better perspective. So that's why we're excited to bring you some better news stories, give you some fresher takes, some, I don't know, should I say more based ideas on what's really going on in the world?
Sounds like the walls are closing in.
They are.
I use that because that's what the mainstream media said for how many years on Donald Trump. Like, you see the mainstream media, the walls are closing in.
They're about to get him.
They're about to get him. But seriously, we see a larger push towards a global government, and we're continuing to fight towards that and just continue to have the conversation about it. But yeah, the hour-by-hour case with the Israel-Palestine situation is rather hard to catch. There's so many factoids coming from you in every which direction. It's hard to make any sense of anything. I think it's a multidimensional issue. There's so many dimensions to it that even the best geopolitical scholars and the best political pundits out there think they have an opinion of what's going on, but do they? It's made me question a lot of conservative media. It makes you question, obviously everyone questions legacy media, but what's the true narrative on what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think it revolves around one thing. It's government tyranny. It's corrupt non-governmental organizations. The lack of representative governments is what's destroying that of free people. That's why we push the American ideology so much, is because we believe it's one of the few, if not the only, system that allows free people to exist. And tyranny is what it's all about. And we get caught up, it's the Jews, it's the Palestinians, but it really comes down to government tyranny. I think that's something everybody can get behind. Because you ask anybody, they hate a corrupt administration, whether you're left or right. You hate the big corrupt government, and that's what it's all about. Is focusing and attacking, not physically, literally. We can't attack them. We might end up in jail for a couple days.
I know.
But it's all about exposing government tyranny. That's what it's all about to us.
The government keeps on being tyrannical. The government keeps on putting their boot on our neck. Well, did I see a story? I'm not sure if this is true. Can you fact check me on this one? That we're sending, it was like 1,000 United States troops to Israel?
2,000, baby.
It's 2,000.
Yeah, saw this on the local news the other day. Not here in my state, but I saw it on the local news in another state.
And that's the thing that I hate to see. Boots on the ground again in the Middle East. I thought we got out of the Middle East. I thought that we wanted no new wars. But now we're putting the aircraft carriers. We're putting 2,000 new American soldiers in Israel? We don't have a military base in Israel. Are we fighting someone else's war? Are we going to bat for another country, and this other country is not America? Why are we doing this? And that's some of the questions that we're going to be trying to cover today in Base Boys Media.
Seriously, we want to get into it and dive into a deeper conversation on what's actually going on. I like to think I know, so let's get into it today. Well, you said it a moment ago, Mike, boots on the ground. That's what we're continuing to do, just put more boots on the ground. Donald Trump got us into no new wars. Isn't that great?
He got us into no new
How
wars.
many wars has Joe Biden got us into now? We have 2 wars. Ukraine. Now Israel, we're funding more Israel-Palestine conflict. It's pretty big.
And in that funding pack, did you see about this? The funding package that Biden's putting together right now, sending
$100 billion.
And so that's not just for Israel, but also has Taiwan in there. So we're about to fund 3 wars right now, 2 conflicts we're funding, and probably a 3rd one real soon. I always think, how arrogant of America to think we got all these countries. We're gonna take on China. We're going to take on Russia. We're going to take on the Muslim world. And we're going to win. We can't win these. We can't keep on sending billions of dollars of American taxpayer money. And even if you want to go beyond that, we can't send billions of printed money and continue to exist as Americans, as a republic. What was it? 25% of our currency... 75% of our currency was printed in the last 3 years. We are living on debt. We're living on borrowed time right now. The American empire can't afford to keep on fighting all of these wars and all these foreign conflicts. America can't survive when we keep on giving $100 billion a month to every single other country in the world for them to go to war. We can't live on this. Like Zane, is America doing well?
No, that's why we have the American flag upside down in our backdrop here.
Yeah.
Because America's in distress.
We're in crisis.
Yeah, that's literally what the symbol of an upside down American flag is. It's not that we don't love America. We love America. But when you have just so much corruption running rampant, I don't think there's a solution to it. I mean, even through the current political structure, it's just so controlled by corporate interests and special interests. It's a long uphill battle at this point when we just continue to send billions of taxpayer dollars. When you have so many helpless Americans here that can't even afford to buy a house. I mean, the housing market's shit right now. The crime is terrible in mostly Democratic cities and large cities. I mean, all large cities are run by Democrats. I just don't think there's a solution to it. I mean, like we always say, put faith in God, but it's hard to do that with a distracted public.
I think what you said is both true and false with our housing crisis and all these different things. We're in crisis. It's true that there isn't a solution. I think there is one, but no one's willing to go through it. The solution would be stop funding foreign wars, stop printing infinite money, because then we wouldn't have a crazy crisis, but no one's willing to do that. Mm-hmm. No one's willing to take the hard steps of financial conservatism and not sending billions of dollars. So I do agree with you that there isn't a way for us to fix it because our people in charge won't fix it for us. They won't vote for American interests. They put the American people behind Israel, Ukraine, even Taiwan now. And the last person who benefits from America's foreign policy and America's domestic policy is Americans. We don't benefit from anything that Washington, D.C. does. Biden sends $100 billion more to other countries, but he neglects the American people every day.
Exactly. And what are 2 things? I can think of 2 things off the top of my head that the federal government and anybody collecting taxpayer dollars should be protecting. It's our infrastructure. And what else? What do you think?
Defending American homeland.
Public defense.
Yeah, public defense. Yeah, exact thing that we're set up
Public
for.
safety, I should say. Like defense, safety, whether it's police, firefighters, EMS, and military. Public safety and infrastructure. I mean, can you think of anything that you add in there? What about your welfare?
No, we do not have welfare. And even what you said before about the public safety, such as firefighters and police, that should all be local. That should all be state. So I would actually take that out of the whole thing because that should not be federal.
But even I'm speaking locally and on behalf of federally. Like, do we need all this just public commodities that just complicate so many things and just all this public spending? I mean, these things are great. Social welfare programs might be great on some aspect, but I don't really believe in most of them.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I absolutely hate. Do you remember when I explained how the American budget goes. How we're trying to cut the deficit spending, but we have a couple different things. We have discretionary funds as well as we have mandatory funds that we have to spend. So Social Security as well as welfare and interest on our debt is all mandatory spending. And the only things in discretionary spending is military spending, and non-military, non-VA, because VA is also discretionary. And so the only things besides that are discretionary is random pet projects of politicians. And they don't cancel any of that. So when people talk about cutting American spending, they're not referring to Social Security or social welfare. They're just referring to non-military,
at the moment. What do we know? I mean, I think our media and our technology that we have been given, the ability to get information hour by hour, it used to be a week by week thing. The news cycle used to be a week by week, if not maybe day by day or week by week, whatever. But now it's an hour by hour thing. There's always something new breaking. There's always new information being, spewed to us on our algorithms and our phones. I think that this has helped us see over the last however long how much we've been deceived on so many issues. I mean, technology has allowed us to become more aware about, through social media, 9/11, JFK assassination. I mean, these are just the larger, big picture conspiracy theories that we think about that are talked about, and how we're weapons of mass destruction. Most recently, I always like to use COVID, right? So we were lied to about COVID, and so much, of the public sector lied to us about COVID, and we were completely misled. How deep do you think the propaganda goes? That's the real question. How do you get people off of that? I want to know. I don't have an answer. These are just the things I ask. We like to ask questions on this show and get people thinking, because how do you get people off the propaganda?
I think you get people off the propaganda that same exact way. You start them with a question. That question itches in the back of their head going, it is kind of weird that airplane fueled melted steel beams. It is kind of strange. Or even other questions like, it is kind of weird that we spent a couple $1 trillion in the Middle East and we didn't get anything out of it. And we're watching that now. And I think you made a really interesting point. I'm going to carry on with your point. Who do we believe? I think that we're watching the American media completely destroy itself. Not just the traditional legacy media like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, because they were destroying themselves for a while, but we're watching also a lot of other media companies destroy themselves. And that's one of the reasons why Base Boys Media is here. We are, I think, the third wave of media companies. There was the first, there's CNN, and then you had other things like the Daily Wire, and now I think even better places are going to come up like us, who are going to actually be able to give people the truth, because we're not controlled by whoever's controlling the Daily Wire and by Turning Point. And so back to what I was saying is, you ask a really interesting point of how do people awaken? And I think it's by turning away from things like Turning Point USA. Because did you see Charlie Kirk recently, where he has been going on about how we need to support Israel? I actually have one of his tweets here where it is quite literally an insane point he's making about how...
Whoa. I'm going to have to stop you right there. Do you want to be an anti-Semite? Because anytime we bring up Israel, anti-Israel, you're an anti-Semite. I just want you to know this, or you're going down this path.
Yeah, so this is a tweet he made. We would have brought this up a little bit earlier. This is a tweet he made a couple days ago where he says, Israel is not Ukraine. The war in Ukraine is an endless war. Ukraine will never defeat Russia. No matter how much money or how much weapons we give them, it is no clear path to winning the war. Ukraine is profoundly corrupt, and we have no idea where the money goes and who is siphoning it off. To top it all off, Ukraine's war's goals include seizing regions like Crimea, regions that regions that are ethnically Russian, speak Russian, and want to be part of Russia. The war with Hamas is not an endless war. The objective is clear: destroy Hamas and increase the government in Gaza that doesn't embrace genocide as a founding principle. I'm halfway through, and there's already a couple lies that he says there. The war with Hamas is not an endless war.
Where's all that money going?
Where is the $100 billion we're sending them going? And this war's been going on for 70 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes you question conservative media, because this is conservative media that, you've digested, I've digested. I've digested every angle of media, from liberal media to conservative media. But when you see, are these people speaking on behalf of real conservative Americans, or are they, being controlled by bigger strings? What's the picture like for you on that? Because I start to see, like, Daily Wire, conservative media, maybe they are misguided. Maybe it is just incompetence. Maybe my views, I don't know, my views don't align with theirs, so I can't say their views are incompetent. But to sit there and say I stand with Israel, and to protect Israel on so many fronts, and these people have lost so many viewers. I mean, you can pull the viewership up on all these people. They've lost views. Do we stand with Israel? Because this is what I want to talk about. Because, is Israel the promised land that we're taught in the Bible? Is the current day Israel in 2023, is it synonymous with that of biblical Israel? I've listened to things from Jews that are against Israel, Jews for Israel, Jews against Palestine and Hamas, Jews for Palestine and Hamas. Like, there's so many different angles to this and so many dimensions to understand. But I don't think we should be funding Israel at all. But why are they so standing with Israel, Micah? What is your thoughts?
I think it's a really interesting point, because we do have the American media, Charlie Kirk, who else? Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, all that in that crew.
Mark Levin.
Even Sean. Did you see Sean Hannity roasting Vivek about that? He was like I tuned into Fox News for just a one tad bit, and they're roasting Vivek about, you're an anti-Semite because you don't love Israel and you don't want to give them billions of American taxpayer money, and you don't want to send all of America to go die for Israel. And you kind of go like, my conservative media, the people who I thought represent me, don't. And that to me is disturbing. To me, if it was CNN, let's say it was CNN who's saying, we need to go to war, we need to support Ukraine, we need Black Lives Matter, all these different things, I kind of go like, okay, it's CNN, who cares what they're saying? I know that every single thing that they say is a lie. I don't really worry about what they're up to, because it's CNN. They're always lying. MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, she's never said the truth in her life. I'm not thinking about what she's doing. That's in a different world. I'm over here. I'm in conservative America. I'm listening to patriots who love America, who put America first. And then I hear Charlie Kirk say, we need to go to war for Israel. We need to put boots on the ground to take on the evils that are against a different country.
Yeah, the complete ignoring of the corruptness of Israel. I mean, it's a corrupt political state owned by bankers. It's a Rothschild's project. And here's the thing, is how can we sit there and fund Ukraine, or we can sit there and criticize Ukraine, but we don't criticize Israel? It's because I think we're guided, or we're guised by this, or we're distracted by this, like, blanket of Christianity, this lukewarm Christianity of the boomer generations that are so like, oh, I stand with Israel because it's the promised land. But I don't know enough to speak on that. But like, I kind of want to get back to that question, is like, do you think modern day Israel is synonymous with that of biblical Israel? Because
yeah, I'm not sure how deep we want to go into this, but no, I don't think it is the same thing. Okay, so oftentimes people conflate Israel with Hebrews. Israel is not the Hebrew nation. The Hebrew nation is not Israel. It's been proved for a long time. And the thing is, we understand that the promise and the blessing of God comes through Jesus Christ and our belief in him. If you want to call America New Jerusalem, I think people probably could. People could probably say that America is the new chosen land of because it's founded on Christian principles, founded on American ideals of that align with God. Blackstone's idea about common law and God's law, that every single person is endowed with inalienable rights that can't be taken away because they're not given by the government, they're given by God. America, if you want to get into the whole Christian boomer idea, America's the New Jerusalem. Israel is not. Israel is not the nation in which we think they are. I see everyone simping for at least in my circle, I see a lot of Christians simping for Benjamin Netanyahu, and I see a lot of people calling the Pope a anti-Semite. Did you see? I'm gonna pull up the story in like a little bit, but everyone's calling the Pope an anti-Semite because he's calling for peace and for Israel to stand down and not have a mass genocide of Gaza residents. He's calling for a peace between Israel and Palestine, and the Pope is called an anti-Semite for it. And I kind of go like, a little strange right there. My media, my same people who've been lying to me my whole life, are showing their true colors again. They're calling the Pope an anti-Semite when he's calling for peace and calling for brotherly love in between people of the world. So a congressman was buying the stock. His name was Congressman Gothenheimer. He was buying Lockheed Martin stock, and I think that people are preparing to get really rich off this conflict. Whomever is buying the stock right now, whomever is putting themselves into this, they are preparing for money. And so I do think a lot of the things that you're saying were completely true. I do agree that we are controlled as Christians to be in support of Israel. And I think that there's multiple factions going on at once. Give me 1 second.
Oh no!
I have a sneeze coming on.
Technical difficulties.
I blame the intern. And so, basically, my thought on it is there's a couple different factions. There's the Zionists who are trying to push towards the one Israel, getting rid of all Palestinians. There's the American Congress people who are funded by Israel, and then there is also people who are looking to get rich. I think there's these three factions right there. Some people are buying Raytheon stock. Some people are buying Lockheed Martin. Some people are going like, okay, I'm bought and paid for $100 billion. You know, I'm going to get a little kickback off this one. And there's the other people who are supporting the Zionist desire to kick everyone from Palestine. It is an interesting thing because did you see how Israel gave a decree to North Gaza saying 1 million people you need to evacuate? It's I think it's 24 by 5 miles, and they said 1 million people you need to evacuate. It's interesting because Gaza, for all intents and purposes, is a nation, if you want to call it that, a city, even a city-state of children. 50% of them
50% women and children.
Yeah, 50% women and children. And they're saying, you need to evacuate because we're about to level the city. And if you go through it, I'm not necessarily completely on the side of Palestine. I'm not completely on the side of Israel. I'm on the American side. America needs to not get involved in wars. That's the side that Americans should be on. I'm sick and tired of them trying to convince us that Israel's our side. And also for the left, I'm sick and tired of them saying that Palestine's our side. America's side is America. Not Palestine, not Israel.
That's the stance of the American people. Nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants their innocent children and their innocent kids dying in endless wars. Sorry, Charlie Kirk, but this is an endless war funding Israel. I don't see any end to it. It's just gonna a continuous money laundering system, insider trading system that's gonna just continue to go on. It may end with Israel at some point, but it's just gonna continue to go on. I mean, my entire life, it's Operation Iraqi Freedom to this to Ukraine to this now. It just does not end, and that's what we don't want. And I don't know how we break free from this system. I mean, do we run for office? Do we get in office? Do we try to push forward? But these people, they're probably just going to continue to be bought and sold, because everything comes down to the large banks, the large NGOs running everything. They have so much influence and so much power. It's pretty much easy to buy and sell everyone because money talks. I think most people aren't morally inclined to do the right thing. It's just easier to take the money and shut up when you've created such a system that shuts you down anytime you actually want to fight for a group of people. Maybe they're just trying to fulfill biblical prophecy. Maybe that's what it's all about.
I've been seeing a lot of stuff about that there's been biblical prophecy, that there's the weird moon eclipse, and there was a attack on Israel, and there was a war. I've been hearing a lot of Christians, which I am, talk about how there is potentially biblical prophecy. Do you put any weight behind that, or do you think there's just a weird moon and something strange that goes on in Israel? Do you put any weight behind the biblical prophecy?
I mean, I don't know enough to answer that, but sure.
Sure, okay.
I think so. I mean, it kind of makes sense. All the sacrifices they make and everything that they're doing. It's hard to say, man. It really is.
Do you see? I oftentimes think to myself, okay, I'll be a little honest here. I'm in the camp that I don't necessarily buy the story of what happened in Israel. I think it's too convenient. I think a lot of the stuff just happens to benefit Benjamin Netanyahu when he was under investigation for corruption, and now he has a unity party in his own parliament that support him. So if we take that and say, okay, maybe someone aligned it with a blood moon or one of these things that everyone looks to and goes, ooh, this is biblical, and then every single Christian buys it because they call it prophecy. We're already watching that the Daily Wire, Charlie Kirk, a lot of other different small independent media groups that they're Christian, but they're also kind of bought and paid for by the Israel lobby. I'm not saying the Jews, I'm saying the Israel lobby. I know a lot of people will say, like, hey, that's anti-Semitic. You're like, no. There's a difference between hating a people because of their ethnicity, and there's a difference between a country using their power and influence to make certain entities corrupt.
Right. Our thoughts aren't irrational thoughts based on nothing.
Yeah. And my whole thing is certain things are bought and paid for, and I kind of go like, I'm not against people. I'm against corruption. And that's the thing that we're fighting against. We're fighting against it in America. I think Israel should be fighting against it. I even think Ukraine and even Taiwan should be fighting against corruption. And that's the thing that I look to now. And I go, why are we so gung-ho about going to war for Israel? Why is my people, why is Charlie Kirk, a person who supports and loves Donald Trump, going to war for Israel? Going to bat for them, saying, we need to go to war for them. Why are all of my people who should be thinking and representing me not representing me here?
Follow the money. I mean, we'd be talking about Israel if the money was right. We'd be supporting Israel. We'd be like, go, yeah, send all the money to Israel, baby. Let's do it. So if it means 15 million, I'll do it.
So Israel, if you're listening right now, we are willing to take your sponsorship because I love war, if you ask me.
Man, if you love money enough, you'll do anything, and that's what it's about. And I said this before, and this isn't mine. I don't know who said this, but there's not a political solution for our spiritual problem we face as humans. At this point, I don't see any stopping the corruption. I'm considering an exit strategy from the United States. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to Canada. No, I'm not even kidding. But like, if this just continues, there's gotta be. I don't know. I want to stay and fight. I don't want to flee and leave. I think staying and fighting is the right thing to do, but it's like, man, you could have it a lot easier maybe elsewhere, maybe not. I don't know. I think every country is just kind of rampant with corrupt political leadership.
I think my exit strategy would probably be either China or Russia. I feel like they'd take me there, you know? I could become Orthodox, you know? I can become an Orthodox Christian.
But it's all about ending government tyranny. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, is just continuing to see the tyrannical moves and the tyrannical leaders, because it's, I think it's hard for most people to understand, to take the mass generalization. Oh, it's the Jews. Oh, it's the World Economic Forum. Or it's the United States. I mean, the United States government works hand in hand, and I think if you pay attention enough, you can see it's a collaboration of many different fronts fighting this or creating this tyranny.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. There's so many different people who are creating tyranny through their corruption, and then they hold us down. They continually keep us from knowing the truth. They keep us from getting to the crux of the matter, which is America and Americans need to be Christian, and Americans who are Christian need to be free. And if they can strip us from that, if they can take away our guns, if they can take away our freedom of speech, if they can take away our rights, our God-given inalienable rights, they can make us slaves, and they will have us eat the bugs.
Seriously. You don't want to eat the bugs, Micah.
Okay, my question of that, do you think that there is a connection between this and the World Economic Forum? Because I've seen some interesting connections, because people have been saying World War III. People have been saying more mass surveillance, because we can never have a Hamas attack again. Do you think that Palestine is being used as a pawn by the World Economic Forum? Or what are your thoughts on that? Because I think there's so many different rabbit trails you can go down. And I always wonder, what do you think?
I don't know. My teleprompter ran out. I don't have anything to say.
You don't have anything on that one? I know that's a tough question. That's a question out of left field that I'm going to have to think about as well. Because I have a question, but I don't have the answer to that one. And I would be really interested to even ask Sean that type of question of how does this connect to the World Economic Forum? How does Davos benefit from more wars? 'Cause I can tie it to Ukraine. I can give you some Ukrainian benefits, but I'm not sure how it benefits Israel yet. And I think there's a lot of interesting things coming out about that, and I hope Americans wake up and realize that they're being lied to this time. They've been lied to a lot. All the whole Middle Eastern wars and Ukraine wars and now Israel, and probably in the future